Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into, well, something that covers us all, skin.
That's right.
We've got some great medical info here covering common skin conditions, how meds affect skin, different lesions, their shapes too, and those key signs of potential skin cancer.
Yep. The goal is really to break down this chapter on skin, hair, and nails. Make it practical.
Exactly. Cut through the noise, give people the essentials without, being overwhelming.
So you can recognize common things, maybe know when to pay a bit more attention.
Okay, let's jump in. Common conditions first. The material mentions acne, which, well, most of us know that one.
Right. Inflammation of hair follicles, sebaceous glands. Super common for teens, often hormonal.
Then there's eczema, atopic dermatitis.
Same thing, yeah. That tends to be itchy, red, dry patches, often in like the bends of your elbows, behind the knees.
Bends. Okay. How's that different from psoriasis?
Good question. Psoriasis often shows up as red, scaly plaques, but typically on the outside of elbows and knees, different spots.
Got it. Outside versus inside folds. And contact dermatitis.
That's more localized. It's your skin reacting directly to something irritating or an allergen. You get a rash right where the contact happened.
Makes sense. And lastly, fungal infections, like ringworm.
Exactly, or athlete's foot. Tinea is the broader term. Often they look like circular, itchy rashes. That ring shape is pretty classic for ringworm.
An annular shape, right. Okay, moving on. How medications can mess with our skin. This is fascinating.
It really is. Your skin can react in loads of ways. Photosensitivity is one.
Meaning
Well,
more sensitive to sun.
yeah, exactly. Certain drugs, like some tetracyclines or diuretics, make you burn much more easily.
Good to know. What else?
Well, allergic reactions, obviously. Rashes, hives, antibiotics, NSAIDs, things like that can trigger them.
Okay.
You can also get skin discoloration, sometimes darker patches, hyperpigmentation, or lighter ones, hypopigmentation.
And I think the material mentioned bruising.
Yes, or skin thinning. That can happen with corticosteroids. And then there's dryness or peeling, often seen with meds like isotretinoin for acne.
Wow, quite a range. So let's talk lesions. The difference between primary and secondary.
Okay, so primary lesions are like the initial thing that appears on otherwise normal skin.
The starting point.
The starting point, exactly. Like a macule that's just a flat spot. Think freckle.
Flat, okay.
Then a pacule is a small raised bump, like a common mole. A plaque is a larger raised area, maybe like in psoriasis.
Bigger than a papule.
Right. A nodule is deeper, more solid. You can feel it under the skin. And then you have fluid-filled ones. Vesicles are small blisters. Pustules are filled with pus, like pimples.
So primary is the first stage. Secondary lesions come from changes to those.
Precisely. They result from changes in primary lesions or maybe from scratching them. A crust, for example, is just a scab dried fluid.
Like after a blister pops.
Exactly. Scale is flaky skin, like dandruff. An erosion is a shallow loss of skin surface, while an ulcer goes deeper. And a fissure is a crack. You sometimes see that with athlete's foot.
It's like a whole vocabulary for describing skin changes. And these lesions form patterns, right? Shapes.
They do, and the shape can give clues. Annular means ring-shaped, think ringworm again.
Okay.
Linear is just a line, like a scratch. Grouped means they cluster together, common in contact dermatitis maybe.
Makes sense.
Zoster form follows the path of a nerve that's classic for shingles. And target lesions, well, they look like a bullseye, concentric rings. That's a big flag for Lyme disease.
Wow, the shapes tell a story too. Okay, let's hit the really critical part. Spotting potential skin cancer. The ABCDE rule.
Absolutely vital. Everyone should know this. A is for asymmetry.
One half doesn't look like the other half.
Correct. B is for border. The edges are irregular, jagged, or blurred, not smooth.
Okay.
C is for color. Look for variation, different shades of brown, black, tan, sometimes even red, white, or blue within the same lesion.
Multiple colors are a warning sign.
Diameter. Generally, anything larger than 6 millimeters, about the size of a pencil eraser, needs checking. Although melanomas can sometimes be smaller.
Right, so size is a guide, not absolute. And finally, E.
E is for evolving. This is key. Has the spot changed over weeks or months? Size, shape, color, elevation, or maybe new symptoms like itching, crusting, or bleeding.
Any change warrants attention.
Definitely. See a doctor if any of those ABCDEs apply.
Great. So, quick recap.
Hmm.
We've touched on common conditions like acne and eczema, how meds can cause things like photosensitivity or rashes, the difference between primary lesions like papules and secondary ones like crusts, lesion shapes like annular or target, and that crucial ABCDE guide for skin cancer awareness.
That's a good overview. It gives you a framework, you know.
It does. It equips you to be a bit more observant.
Which leads to maybe a final thought. Considering how much the skin tells us, acting as this huge interface between our internal world and the outside. Well, beyond these more defined signs we've discussed, what other, maybe more subtle, signals is our skin sending? Things that might nudge us to think more about that whole mind-body connection.
Hmm. That's definitely something to ponder. What else is our skin trying to tell us? Good food for thought.